You've been lied to about fitness, and here are the 10 reasons why you're not losing fat. Let's dive in and expose them. I've coached hundreds of people, and one of the most common problems is that people are confused about what is real and what is fake. And today we're going to dive into how you can resolve that. These people end up stuck, frustrated, they never see the results they want. And in nearly every case, it comes down to bad information. And it's those fitness myths that sound legit that are actually making it worse for you and making it harder for you to make results. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to drop you 10 fitness myths that are absolute bullshit and are stopping you from losing fat. Let's dive straight in. Early in my career, I spent a lot of time doing lots of cardio, thinking that cardio was the way to burn fat. And you see it all the time. Marathon runners sweating buckets and they're always so lean. So how come is this a myth? Well, the turning point came when I realized that even though I was burning 400 calories on a treadmill, I was also eating 600 calories after to make up for it. Therefore, meaning I was no longer in a calorie deficit and I wasn't burning fat. So I was doing all this cardio, thinking I was burning fat, and in reality, I wasn't actually losing anything in the first place. That being said, cardio can help with calorie burn, and as long as you're in a calorie deficit with your food intake, you will lose fat overall. So use cardio for a tool for your health, use it as a way to burn extra calories, but don't make it your absolutely essential fat burning principle. But there was a time in my bodybuilding journey where I thought carbs make you fat. So what did I do? I went to a low carb diet and I decreased my carbs down to 50 grams a day, even at one point going down to 25 grams, even below that down to 0. And I can tell you now that all that happened was I felt lethargic, tired. I did not do well with low carbs in my system. That being said, the science, the people, they all said, right, if you drop your carbs, you're going to lose fat. But that is not what happens in the human body. See, the point is that 1 gram of carbohydrate can hold 3 to 4 grams of water with it. Therefore, imagine this, you have 500 grams of carbs in the body per se. With that, you've got about 2 kilos of water. So what happens when you stop eating carbs? Your body starts losing carbohydrates in the muscle, meaning you lose water weight. And this is the reason why people think, low carb works, because they see success on the scale. But that is not what happens when it comes to body fat. Body fat doesn't just come off your body that quick. It needs to be coaxed over time. And for me personally, I am one of those body types that can handle carbs very, very well. And in fact, the more carbs I have to a degree, I can actually burn more fat from the energy that I get from them. There are others, unfortunately, that may not be in the best position to manage carbs. And what I'm talking about here is we have ectomorphs, we have mesomorphs, and endomorphs. These are the 3 body types that we look at when we're discussing someone's genetics and body types. And those that are on the endomorph side of the spectrum tend to find it harder to burn fat with a high carb diet. Therefore, it's important to look at what you can actually process yourself by testing this. Can you burn fat by going into a calorie deficit whilst eating carbohydrates? Yes? Perfect. Keep them in. If you find that you're in a calorie deficit and you are absolutely being on top of it and you're still not losing fat, then it may be that you want to lower your carbohydrate intake. See what happens, see what works for you. But overall, moderate carbohydrate intake is completely fine and acceptable for burning fat. Now, I've got to admit, even though my training is super heavyweight focused right now, back when I started, especially in the armed forces, it was always about high rep cardio workouts. I'm talking circuits, I'm talking bodyweight workouts, and it was all about high reps. If I'm not doing more and more sets and reps over time, how can I get a lean and toned body? And I took that thinking into my bodybuilding days, thinking, right, I have to do tension and lots of tension and lots of volume all the time. And it just did not work that way. Your body doesn't just burn fat because you're training, it burns fat through a calorie deficit. The same thing that we keep telling you to do. Now, the turning point happened when I devoted myself to lifting heavier weights. That's when I noticed the most muscle growth, and I also noticed that it was easier to stay leaner. The reason for that is because I was recovering in between my sessions. By going down from 6 days a week down to 3, by having more time to rest, I wasn't destroying my body. My body could recover. Therefore, my cravings went down. My appetite went down. I didn't have to eat all the shit food all the time. So in that case, lifting weights can actually help you burn fat in the long term, especially because of the metabolism, the increase that it gives you. It helps boost your metabolism from building new muscle fibers that only increases the amount of calories that your body burns at rest. So therefore, if you look at this chart of your daily calorie burn, 60% is your BMR. This is your basic metabolic rate. This is the amount of calories you burn doing nothing. And you cannot influence this directly unless you build more weight or muscle mass over time. Therefore, if you want to burn more calories doing absolutely jack shit, then I will tell you now, you need to get your muscle mass up. And by doing that, you need to improve your weight in the gym over time. And it also applies to increasing your reps and tension on your bodyweight exercises too. So that's another myth that can go in the bin. So for years, I actually got sucked up with this hype, thinking that you had to eat every 2 to 3 hours in order to stoke fat burn and metabolism. And it is bullshit. It is bullshit. If we go back to our calorie chart, how many calories you burn in a day, 60% is your basic metabolic rate doing nothing. 10% of your calories is burned from thermic effective eating. That means if you eat food, you burn calories by eating the food. Therefore, this is tied to how much you eat and not how often. 3 meals or 6, the total burn is exactly the same. So if you want to eat 1 meal a day, 2 meals a day, 3 meals a day, 6 meals a day, that is your prerogative. Go ahead and do whatever makes you happy. Just be in a calorie deficit. This is the biggest myth in my life that I wish was true. Now, I spent many years trying to spot reduce fat. I even used confirmation bias to try and find research that helped me form an opinion about how to do this myself. And at one point, I thought I cracked it. And here is what I found. Your body has 2 types of fat receptors, alpha 2 and beta 2. Now, beta receptors are more responsive for fat loss, whereas alpha tend to slow it down. Therefore, areas such as the lower belly, the hips, the stomach, all tend to have alpha 2 receptors. Now, some research suggested that if you increase blood flow to those areas, or if you introduce a supplement called yohimbine, or through targeted training, that you could actually spot reduced belly fat in that region. But there's not actually anything truly proven to help you spot reduced belly fat. Therefore, the best thing you can do is increase your calorie deficit over time. Now, what tends to happen with the body is females tend to hold most of their fat around the hips, the bum, the thighs. Men tend to hold it around the belly. And we've all seen the typical dads with the beer belly and the small arms. And that's because the body fat likes to store there first and leave there last. Now, what does that mean for you? That means that if you are losing body fat and you don't see your waist going down or your thighs going down, but you see everywhere else starting to get leaner, then you know you're on the right path. I like to think of it as you're gonna store fat here, and as you gain fat, you're gonna start gaining up and down the body. As you start to lose fat, you're gonna start seeing it go down and down and down until eventually we reach the area that you are trying to get leaner. When you get to that point, you will see the progress, and I promise you, just stick to it. Now, I know so many people that I train that try and chase that sore feeling, and if they don't feel it, they think, oh, that was a shit workout. They think, oh, I'm not going to make any progress at all towards my fat loss. But soreness, also known as DOMS, isn't a reliable sign of progress. It usually means your body did something new, not necessarily effective. That being said, progressive overload over time is how we get better and how we get stronger. And by increasing progressively, you are expected to get sore along the journey. But if you're trying to lose fat, you do not need to be sore in order to do that. I've actually got a client who lost 70 kilos in 1 year by literally doing nothing else but walking and by controlling their diet. That means they were not as sore as you would expect to be if you went to a gym and trained 3 times a week. And it worked for them, and it will work for you too. Now, I'm going to admit something on this one. I have tried lots and lots of different supplements. I have done fat burning steroids. I have done green tea extracts. I have done CLA, L-carnitine, etc. None of these supplements work for fat burning as a whole. These are something that you add to your fat loss journey. The fact is, a lot of you think, oh, this supplement said it burns more fat, so I'm going to take it. You think that that means that if you take that supplement and do absolutely nothing else, that you're going to lose fat? Absolutely bullshit. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but supplements are not the way forward unless you have your fundamentals in place. Now, it's true that taking certain supplements can help and speed up the process. That being said, if you're eating like an absolute whale, you're never going to see fat loss because you're not in a calorie deficit. There are no supplements that will help you if you're in a calorie surplus in order to burn fat. So if you want my tip, save your money, focus on the fundamentals of eating less than you burn, making sure you've got a good amount of activity in your life, making sure you're eating enough protein. And if you're doing those things, now you can start looking at supplements that aid the progress. Now, some of you might be thinking, right, well, more sweat equals more fat burns. Now, technically, fat is lost through the body through expiration or through sweat or through your mouth. However, that's only because it's broken down into those components. So if you're sweating, it doesn't mean you're losing fat necessarily. You're not going to increase the rate of fat loss just because you're sweating. And the reason for that is because sweating is just cooling your body down. It doesn't do anything in terms of burning fat. You could, for example, go into a sauna, lose lots of sweat, lose lots of water weight, but you haven't actually lost any body fat. However, a lot of you might be thinking, well, if I come out the sauna, I can see my abs better, because if you lose water weight, sometimes the retention around the stomach can also be lost, therefore making it look like you have more of a six-pack in the first place. But it does not mean you're losing body fat. Therefore, stop worrying about having to sweat to burn fat. It does not work. Just make sure you're on a sustainable calorie deficit so that you can do this for the long term, because that is what matters the most. I'll get back on track when I'm feeling it. Now, that's been told to me 1,000 times, and I have said that myself, I'll be honest, okay? But you're never gonna feel like you're ready, at least not all the time. time, which means do you wait 2 days, a week, a month, a year, 10 years, or never, just with the hope that you're going to be ready? You're never going to be ready. Let's face it. What's better is to focus on progression rather than perfection. Do not worry about waiting for a moment where you're going to feel ready. You need to take action and get started. Because if you think about it, take yourself to 90 years old and you look back at this moment right now, you're 30 years old, 25 years old, whatever, and you're looking at your body thinking, I just wish I could be back where you are now. I just wish I could have done more with the time I had. That is the problem. Your time is so limited. It is going like that. And if you watch this video and you procrastinate and you don't do anything about losing fat, you're gonna be stuck here again in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, who knows? Wondering, what if I just started today? This is your wake up call. Get off your ass, get to the gym, get some good calories in ya, and lose some fat. Now, I absolutely hate the scale weight when it comes to losing fat. Let's face it, how many times have you gone to weigh yourself and you've been disappointed by the number on the scale? This happens all the time because scale weight does not mean fat weight. You can literally go to the toilet and lose 2 pounds in literally 5 minutes. You can eat a meal and gain all that weight back on within 5 minutes. In fact, if I take this water bottle right now, I go step on a scale and I drink this water bottle, I'm gonna weigh my weight plus this water bottle, even though the water bottle is no longer in my hand. And that is because the weight is just your relationship with gravity. It has nothing to do with fat. So stop worrying about the scale weight as a general strategy. Now, that being said, anytime you're trying to track your progress, tracking your scale weight, tracking your measurements, getting progress pics is one of the best ways of seeing the whole picture and seeing why your body is changing the way it is. Now, if you really are serious about changing your body this year, you need to get less distracted. You need to stop getting sucked up by all the noise around you and all the myths and all the bullshit. So rewatch this video if you need to. Send it to someone you know that are still chasing fat burning shortcuts. And come back to this list whenever you feel stuck. You do not need perfect genetics or extreme discipline. You just need the right information and the patience to follow through. Cut the myths, keep the truth, let's get after it. And if this helped you, hit like, subscribe, and stick around. We're just getting started.